My boy Zaz in the building. What up, Zaz?
Shout out to the members.
Checo Nation. Yeah. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like.
I need 120 likes right now.
Yeah. What's good, man? What's up with y'all sickos? Look at us, man. The season's over and we're sitting here talking about a Daryl Morey press conference. Absolute sicko behavior, man. Took a couple days off from talking about this team, and that felt amazing. And, now I'm ready to get back into the nonsense. So here we are. Shout out to everybody here. Thanks for being here. Do me a favor one time, close out the chat and hit the like button for your boy one time. Let's push this through the algorithm. Let's keep doing the numbers, all right? This is also brought to you by some brand new sponsors. Game Time Ticket app. The app where tickets get cheaper closer to the event. You can get some real steals on there. Go to gametime.co or download the Game Time app and use the promo code CLNS for $20 off your ticket purchase. Also, Arena Club, if you're into trading cards, buying cards, selling cards, sports cards, go over to arenaclub.com/runitback and get 10% off your first slab pack. Check out Arena Club and use Game Time to get your tickets. Thank y'all for sponsoring the channel. Now, here's what we got to talk about. I didn't really know what to even make this live really on earlier. I changed the title 6 different times because I was just going to talk about the Jimmy Butler and Paul George rumors, and then somebody said Daryl Morey's having a press conference at 1 p.m., and I was like, oh, goody. That'll definitely give me something to talk about. And so I watched the press conference. It was as Daryl Morey as you would expect it to be. Borderline annoying. Borderline confusing. Also just borderline scripted. You know, he basically said a whole bunch of nothing. He basically tried to play both sides of the fence. One of the most interesting things was that I felt like was his entire narrative was basically arguing against what people say about him all the time, which is that he only knows stars, he only knows big names, and he doesn't believe in depth. He actually went out on a limb several times in this press conference arguing that big name players, teams with big names are better teams than teams with depth. And he actually argued against that at least twice in this press conference, even trying to say that teams with depth are winning in more recent years, but overall in the history of the NBA, the teams with more stars are the better teams, and so we shouldn't be just looking at role players. We should basically be trying to get the best players possible and then fill out the roster with role players. The thing is that Daryl Morey doesn't sound like he understands what people even mean when they talk about depth or role players. The problem is, if you go Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and then your main goal this offseason is another big name, whether they're old or washed or what have you, a Paul George, trying to bring Jimmy Butler back, trying to draft Bronny James to convince LeBron to come here, whatever it is, you then do not have the money to pay mid to high level role players. It just doesn't really feel like he understands that. He basically said, we're going to try to get the best players we can get and then fill out the roster with role players. But that's how you end up with a buyout candidate and a vet minimum player being relied upon in the playoffs. Because you refused, like we said, Tobias Harris was making $40 million. DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart combined were making $49. That's the point we're trying to get across to this guy, is that those three players are much better together and contributing to a team winning than that one $40 million player, especially when it's a $40 million scrub like Tobias Harris. But that was the just kind of narrative that I got from what Daryl Morey said in this press conference. He was basically trying to argue that I know all you guys are talking about depth and whatever, but in the history of the league, teams with more all-stars are better teams. That's the me paraphrasing what I felt like he was saying in this press conference. Let's react to some of the things that he said and just give our opinion on it, okay? So here is, I'm not going to play this for copyright reasons, but Daryl Morey said he wants Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey to feel good and comfortable about the players around them, but said that they can make a lot of players work given their talent. That's interesting. I know he talked a bunch about having conversations with Joel Embiid and Joel being, Joel having input in what they're going to try to do as being the MVP leader of the team. I'm kind of interested, does Tyrese Maxey get an opinion there? Do they listen to Tyrese? Do they say, Tyrese, what do you think? What kind of guys do you think would help us win the most? What kind of guys do you think? Let me just get this up here. Sorry, real quick. I forgot something. There we go. Yeah, I'm interested. Do they ask Tyrese Maxey his opinion on that? But I think that Joel Embiid definitely has some input there. Josh Reynolds says Daryl Morey, when asked about specific needs heading into the offseason, Daryl Morey said, someone at the wing who can play and deliver in the playoffs. This is so interesting to me because this is the guy that defended his boy Tobias Harris for years now, but especially this past offseason with Tobias making the crumble cookie comment and then Daryl Morey retweeting it or posting a picture in front of the crumble cookie store and trolling the fans on Twitter. It's so interesting to me that he basically battled fans all off season when we were saying, hey, Daryl Morey, Tobias Harris sucks. And he was basically saying, haha, no, he doesn't. You guys don't know what you're talking about all off season, right? And then they fail like we knew they were going to. They fail in large part due to the fact that there was a major hole in the roster that we were trying to convey this entire last offseason. So the fans are right once again. And one of the things that he says the Sixers need, someone at the wing who can play and deliver in the playoffs. Yeah, no shit, Daryl. This is exactly what everybody's been trying to get across to you for 2 years now. You don't have to tell us. We've been telling you. This someone at the wing who can play and deliver in the playoffs. Exactly the opposite of your boy Tobias Harris, who you defended for so long. It's unbelievable that he just came out and basically admitted that the fans were right the whole time, but said it in his own words as if it's a revolutionary idea that he just came up with. You ever have an idea at work and your boss is like, ignores you, and then 2 months later, he puts it out there as his idea, and you're like, bro, okay, whatever. That's like, come on, Daryl. But I just find that so interesting. Someone at the wing who can play and deliver in the playoffs. So not Tobias Harris, not Paul George. Can Paul George deliver in the playoffs? We'll talk about that a little bit later on this show. But that was my initial reaction to that comment. There's definitely some more interesting ones, okay? There's this one is the one that I almost fell out of my chair while I was listening to this press conference. This is the one right here. They asked him about Tobias Harris, and he said, Tobias can still for sure be a contributing player on a championship team. He also said there is interest in re-signing him as a free agent. If the Philadelphia 76ers re-sign Tobias Harris this summer, I will lead a march down Broad Street in protest. I am, look, I don't want to get nervous about this, okay? Tobias Harris, by the end of this past season, was being booed by his home fans when his name was announced at pregame. He knows Sixers fans can't stand him. Sixers fans know that he doesn't want to be here anymore. Daryl Morey knows that. He's not stupid. Tobias Harris has a 0-point game in his probably his last game as a Sixer. He gives absolutely no effort whatsoever in an elimination game. Daryl and everybody knows you can't bring Tobias Harris back. Even as stubborn and as sometimes arrogant as I think Daryl Morey can come off as, I don't think he would even consider doing that. There's a point where, you can ignore the fans or troll them on social media, whatever you want to do. But there comes a point where you don't want to piss off the fans on that level, especially in Philadelphia. If they would re-sign Tobias Harris, game 1 next season would be, it would just be outrageous. The amount of boos that would rain down from the arena if that dude has a 76ers jersey on to start the season. That's just not even possible. So I think he's saying this because he's still trying to sell Tobias Harris. Maybe they're trying to sell him for a sign and trade, or maybe he's just trying to help Tobias out to make him look better in the mainstream NBA media, so he can go get paid somewhere else. I honestly do not think even Daryl Morey would consider re-signing Tobias Harris and bringing him back to the Philadelphia 76ers. So that's my take on that. Daryl Morey said, I owe it to the fans, to ownership, to everybody to get this team in a place where we're competing for championships. First comment right there by Silvio. He said that last year. He did seem a little bit apologetic when he first went up there on the stand. He sounded like, we failed. And he even honestly said, I feel like I could have done a better job. One of my favorite questions was, I guess I can do a lot of this off the top of my head because I was watching the press conference. One of my favorite questions was the very first question. This lady named Christina, shout out to Christina. She said, Daryl, she basically asked him, what do you think about how the team was unable to survive without Joel Embiid? Or do you think you could have done a better job of building the roster to be able to win when Joel Embiid is out? Because let's call it what it is. He's out every season for at least 30 games or whatever, right? And he did say, I felt like I could have done a better job. For him to even say, I felt like I could have done a better job, it's just like, I feel like every major point of the season, right? The offseason, then the beginning of the season, then the trade deadline. I feel like every time one of these major points comes around, the fan base is screaming at Daryl Morey to do something, and he doesn't do anything. And then he comes up here and says, I feel like I could have done a better job. And they're like, yeah, Daryl. You know, the backup center position, I know you re-signed Paul Reed, and maybe him, along with us, didn't realize how actually bad Paul Reed would be at defending the rim in the playoffs. But, yeah, I agree with that, Daryl. You could have done a better job. And he did say that 90% of our focus is building a team that can win with Joel Embiid, and I say that a lot too. You know, people are like, why is this team so bad when Joel gets hurt? It's all focused on winning with him, and it's all focused on putting players around him, and they straight up do a terrible job. Daryl Morey's done a terrible job for the past 3 years of putting depth on this team, of trading for depth, signing depth. Again, when you end up in the playoffs, you're relying on 38-year-old Kyle Lowry, who you got in a buyout. That's insane. Like, what did you do all off season and at the trade deadline to where you ended up relying on a 38-year-old player who was a buyout candidate? That's crazy. So yeah, Daryl Morey said that I could have done a better job. He said I owe it to the fans, to ownership, to everybody to get this team in a place where we're competing for championships. It sounds like it sounds a little bit apologetic. It sounds a little bit nervous. Do you think Daryl Morey's a little bit nervous that he might be, on the hot seat this upcoming year? Like, it is getting to the point where, it's getting to the point where I think he could be on a hot seat soon. And I know they just extended him last year, but you're not making progress. That's the craziest thing about this team losing in the first round to me. You're not making progress. You lost in the second round 2 years in a row. And then you had another offseason and another trade deadline, and you did worse. You lost in the first round this time. That's not progress. So, like, is there really even anything that he could talk about, like, we're building on, or we did this and now we're going to, like, you got worse, bro. So I don't know. Maybe he could be a little bit nervous. He did say that we're interested in Kelly Oubre. He said we're interested in basically everybody. He said we're interested in, he didn't really give any information that's gonna make a big headline or anything. He said this offseason is a big one. I owe it to the fans and everybody to get us. We already said that. Describe the Sixers' biggest need. I had a couple reactions. I was tweeting them out so I could go back and look at them. Let's just look at that. Tobias can for sure become a contender. No. He had a comment on... Somebody asked him... I'm so glad I tweeted this so I could remember it. Somebody asked him basically, when you're looking at free agents, when you're looking at trade targets, are you taking age into consideration? And he straight up said, we are not against older players. If they can play... we want them here. He said, you have to look at age because you're trying to win and build the team and be good for more than just 1 year. But he was like, at the same time, if they can still contribute and they're a good fit next to Joel, basically we're not really concerned about their age. And this is going to lead us into the Paul George conversation because most of the internet has been saying, most of the NBA world has been saying or trying to assume that Daryl Morey is going to lead the charge in trying to get Paul George. And the argument to that, people's pushback to that is he's aging and he doesn't seem like he really cares that much anymore. And so Daryl Morey comes out and basically confirms what everybody thought, which is, I don't really care about a player's age. If they're good right now, we want them on our team. We tried to tell this guy that James Harden was past his prime. So, I mean, it makes me a little bit nervous that he's going to overpay for Paul George. I'll talk about the Paul George stuff in a minute, but that's what he said. It's just, he was straight up like, we're not against older players. If they can play, we want them here. I thought that one was interesting. He made an argument about teams with more stars are better and literally argued against depth really mattering. He said I could do a better job. The Tobias thing was crazy. What do we got? Super chats in here, man. 76 reasons why. Thanks for the super chat. Morey really wasted a year beefing with Harden just to use that same money on 34-year-old Paul George. Yeah, we're going to talk about Paul George for a second here. Shout out to everyone in here. Do me a favor one time. Hit the like button for your boy. Brandon Gatsy. Morey has 1 year to get it done or else fire him. Yeah, and I think, it puts the ownership in a difficult position because, and you want them to be in a difficult position. You want Josh Harris to be in a difficult position because they gave him an extension, but, the only way to get ownership to make changes is to threaten the money. And when a fan base is angry, you're looking at your profits eventually declining. That's the only time an owner will make a move. If he's still making money, he's not going to give a damn what anybody's talking about. But the lack of progression in the past couple of years from Daryl Morey building this team, I would say that too. I would say that if they come out and next playoffs are still just as dealing with the same issues, the backup center issue, the whatever, lack of role players, lack of depth, lack of shooting, and they lose in the first or second round again, you might be right. I could maybe see Daryl Morey being fired just by pressure of ownership. And it sucks because when this is the last time the Sixers had a GM that really built a roster and they really had never? The 80s? The 80s? But was that even, that was because the ABA collapsed and Dr. J was traded to the Sixers. That wasn't even real. I don't think it's ever happened in this franchise's history. I don't know. You maybe have to go back to the 1930s or something to find out when the last time this organization actually had a deep roster. We're going to talk about this is going to last all off season. But we are going to talk about the Paul George thing, what we think Daryl Morey is possibly going to do, and my opinion on the Paul George thing, because I'm not anti-Paul George. I'm not anti-Paul George. But I definitely have some opinions on it, man. But first, this is brought to you by Game Time Ticket app. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. And I want to show you real quick. You go to gametime.co or download the Game Time app and you just type in Phillies. I want to show you how cool this app and website actually works. You type in Phillies, look at that. You get the whole arena right there. And the cool thing is they have these flash sales that pop up, right? And here's flash, $68, because as the game gets closer, the tickets get cheaper. There's a seat right there, right outside of third base in Orioles, in the Orioles stadium for $68. Flash deal. So yeah, you can go on this website and really get some crazy deals on tickets the closer you get to the game. And so check it out. Go to gametime.co. Use promo code CLNS for $20 off. Thank you for sponsoring the channel. Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Redeem. Create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Last minute tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed. Yeah. Now let's talk about Paul George, man. Because I guess I just want to give my opinion on it. What we have to do is we have to say to ourselves the same thing we've been saying the past couple of years when you think about players that they're going to trade for or players that they're going to try to sign in free agency. Are they better than Tobias Harris? The Sixers, people can say whatever they want, why the Sixers lost in the playoffs, why they fell short again. My answer is they lacked a third scoring option. They straight up lacked a third scoring option. I know we were hoping that it was Kelly Oubre, but he's just Kelly Oubre. You know, you can't hope that a guy you signed to a minimum at the very end of the offseason is your third scoring option, on a championship run. The reason the Sixers lost in the playoffs is because Tobias Harris stunk it up. And Tobias Harris was the highest paid player on the team, and Tobias Harris is not a third scoring option on a championship team. So when you look at somebody like Paul George, skill set wise, obviously much better than Tobias Harris. A better scorer than Tobias Harris, a better shooter, bigger, stronger, a better finisher. So I'm not against Paul George. I just don't want Daryl Morey to overpay for Paul George. Now, a rumor came out today that the Clippers intend to bring everyone back, but they've had contract discussions with Paul George and have not reached an agreement, which can only tell you really one thing, that Paul George is asking for too much money because he has a $48 million player option with the LA Clippers. If he's going to, there's the rumor from Shams is that he's possibly going to test free agency. So if Paul George is going to test free agency, that means he would be waiving his $48.7 million player option to become a free agent. That sounds crazy, but that tells me that Paul George thinks that he's worth more than that $48.7 million. And he's probably doing the same thing James Harden did, which is looking around the league and saying, I'm still great. I could still be one of the highest paid players in the league. And at 34 years old, I think I can play for 4 more years. I think if Jaylen Brown is getting 60 at the end of his contract, if they're probably comparing numbers, and he's probably saying, I'm worth 4 years, 200. And so he's probably willing to waive the $48 million to try to get a 4-year, $200 million contract from whoever is going to offer that. And the fact that the Clippers have not reached an agreement with his camp so far tells me that he's asking for that 4-year, $200 million extension, and they are not willing to give him that. That's the problem that I have with the situation, because Daryl Morey might be willing to give him that. And if Daryl Morey gives Paul George at 34 years old a 4-year, $200 million contract, I will have a heart attack. Because better than Tobias Harris right now, of course. But in 2 years, that puts you really in a similar situation where the guy will be 36 going on 37, and you will owe him a large part of the salary cap. And that goes back to the issue that the Sixers have seemingly every year. They're paying guys at the top, and then they don't have any money to spend on the Derek Whites of the world, on the Malcolm Brogdons of the world, on the OG Anunobis of the world, on the Dante DiVincenzo's, the Josh Harts. They don't have these players because they keep doing shit like this. So this is a big offseason, and the Sixers finally have an opportunity to waive Tobias Harris, let him walk, clear a whole bunch of cap space, and actually sign the depth. This is an opportunity they haven't had in 5 years. And if they take that opportunity and spend it on another overpaid aging star who just collapsed in the first round, and honestly, his end of the season, his post-game press conference was like, what? The dude sat up there and said, yeah, the older I get, there's not as much pressure because, if you fail, you just live with the results. That's what Paul George said in his press conference after they lost in the first round. So I'm just saying, all this together, it would drive me crazy if you gave Paul George a 4-year, $200 million contract. And people are saying, yeah, he doesn't deserve that. Give him a 3-year, whatever. He doesn't want that. There's a reason the Clippers haven't signed him yet. It's because he's asking for that 4-year, $200 million contract. You can't get him for cheaper than that. He's going to re-sign with LA. So for Daryl Morey to get this guy, he has to overpay. And I don't know, man. That's my take on it. I like Paul George as a third option. Sure. Paul George on a 4-year, $200 million contract at 34 years old with how he just performed in the playoffs and basically said he doesn't care in the post-game press conference. Like, hell no. You know what I mean? Then there was the rumor that came out that Jimmy Butler could return to Philadelphia. Now, this is a stretch. This is Brian Windhorst getting the offseason started early. But yeah, there's a rumor that, what did they say? They basically said, who was it? Shams chose Tobias Harris over him. I should have had it up here, but I can't find it now. But basically, NBA Central maybe. Let me try NBA Central. Somebody said, Shams or somebody said that basically if the Sixers can't get Paul George, they would be trying to pry Jimmy Butler out of Miami to reunite with Joel Embiid in Philly. That one's interesting too, man. Like Klay Thompson between the Magic. Oh, that's interesting. That would be interesting too. I love Jimmy Butler. I love the fit. I loved Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid together. This is now 5 years later, though. How much does Jimmy Butler have left in the tank? Is it worth it? What's his contract like? Shout out to all the new subscribers of the channel. Shout out to everybody in here. Yeah, I'll go more in depth on the Jimmy Butler thing and stuff probably in some other videos. I just wanted to get up here and react to the Daryl Morey press conference and kind of tie it into the Paul George talk because it makes me nervous. I would like to see the Sixers trade or sign players that give you depth on the roster. Especially somebody like Paul George, too, because he's had an injury history also. And we've been in situations now for years where when one of these guys gets hurt, we are screwed. So we'll see, man. This is just the beginning of the offseason. This is day one. This is, you know how the rumor mill goes. It goes crazy all off season. We'll be right here, whether we're doing lunchtime lives or quick videos or what have you. Stay tuned to the channel. Stay right here on Run It Back Philly. I'll be covering every single rumor, topic, gossip. You know how the off season goes. It turns into the most drama-filled TV show outside of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And we'll be right here talking about all of it. And be sure to tune in and continue to give me your opinions. Rob R., thank you for the super chat. Did I miss one? Oh, here we go. That one boy. $5 super chat. Thank you. Hey, DJ, if you were the Sixers GM for this offseason, what possible players would you like to see on the team, whether through free agency or trades? Man, honestly, I would love to answer that question right now, but I haven't even really had the time to. I would have to really sit down and I would have to do a stream, and there will be plenty of them throughout the season where I do streams talking about, my top 3 targets and all kinds of things like that. I got to be honest with you, my guy. I haven't even gotten really to look at players' names, who's available, and all those types of things. This is the first day, basically the first day of the offseason, and we're going to do it all off season long, and we'll definitely be talking about who I think he should target and things like that as we move forward. But thank you for the support. Rob R., PG or Butler, injury-prone 34-year-old versus injury-prone 35-year-old. No to both, and thank you. Yeah, the Jimmy Butler thing, I like the dog mentality that he's always had. I like his leadership way more than Paul George. I like Jimmy Butler's leadership qualities way more than a Paul George or some other guys. But yeah, man, you start to get in your mid-30s, injuries here, injuries there. The guy misses half the season every year waiting for the playoffs, and then he plays in the playoffs and gets hurt in the play-in game. So yeah, me personally right now, I would rather neither of those two guys. I would rather Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and give me a strong supporting cast. I don't think you need a third, air quotes, star. I don't think you need it. I think you need the Aaron Gordons of the world, You need the Dorian Finney-Smiths. You need the Contavious Caldwell-Popes. You need, Cameron Paynes of the world. You need the Buddy Hields of the world when he's making shots. You just need more. You need more contributing, experienced role players. And we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. But yeah, man, we'll be right here all off season, basically every single day. So stay tuned. Tune in. All right. Follow me on all social media. Shout out to the sponsors. Support my sponsors. Go to Game Time. Go to Arena Club. I'll see you guys soon, man.